it's Dorothy guiding with Scrapbooking Quebec. Today I'm here for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop, and I'm going to be creating a 12 by 12 layout featuring the Maggie Holmes Market Square collection. I'm going to talk you through my thought process of creating a 4-block grid where each block is treated almost like its own mini layout. The result is going to be a page that is a bit more busy and messy than one of my typical grids, but it is definitely a fun technique and a great way to use up bits and pieces of a collection. I'm also going to be creating a pocket for journaling and photos. So here are the supplies I'm going to be using, mostly from the Market Square collection. And this is my 4th process video, I think, using this collection. I absolutely love it. I threw in some wood grain paper from Simple Stories, and the Scrapbook Nerd is well stocked in the Market Square collection, so I will link up the products I use and the shop in the description box below. So let's get started. And I did do a bit of preparation in advance. So there is a frame style foundation with 3 sheets of paper, and I gutted 2 of them. I am showing you that I rounded the corners on the top cardstock, the white cardstock. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to make one of those frame style foundation pages, so it will be linked below. I'm showing you that I matted 3 photos. Now each one of those matted photos has 2 extra layers of cardstock behind it because there is going to be a lot of layering on this layout, so I'm going to want those photos to be somewhat substantial so that they pop off the page. I'm showing you the papers from the Market Square collection that I plan to start with anyway. I do have a pile of scraps here, including a bunch of vellum. I do dig into that as well. I have chipboard as well as stickers from the Market Square collection, and I definitely have a handful of cut-apart sheets. This is a technique that's great for ephemera and cut-apart sheets. So what I'm going to do right now is have a look at this paper again, because that is what inspired me to create a grid. You can see off camera, I took it, I cut it into 4.5-inch blocks, and now I'm showing you the photo. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the wood grain paper that I gutted from behind the foundation page, and I'm going to create a second mat for each one of these photos. This second mat measures 1/2 inch larger than each one of those photos. I do end up cutting a 4th block with this wood grain paper. I will work with that 4th block later on. I'm going to be creating a pocket with it towards the end of the video. Once I get these photos matted or double matted here, everything else is going to be treated individually. I am going to be working on 1 block at a time, 1 photo at a time, and I'm not at all going to be thinking about the entire layout. I'm just going to be thinking about 1 block at a time. So I'm showing you right now how the photos are going to be double matted. That is where the similarities end. Now what I'm going to do is work on the largest photo. It's my focal point photo, and this one is going to have the most layers. So I have the 2 photo mats, white and wood grain. Now I'm cutting down some vellum. Basically, no real measurements here. It is basically a bit longer than it is wide. I cut it in half. I kind of staggered them and I ripped the ends. So that is a layer, and now I'm digging into the cut apart sheet. So you saw me tuck in that blue piece there. I'm going to find another one. I end up going with the pink. I'm not thinking too much about color schemes here. I'm working within a collection. Everything matches, and I do know the colors of the 4 blocks that are going to make up the base of my grid. That's as far as I'm thinking for colors. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to adhere these layers together. You can see I have the wood grain, then the blue ephemera piece. Now I'm putting on the vellum, then I'll put on the pink piece of ephemera, then the photo. So I really am working within the layers of the photo mats here. And this makes a nice little chunky cluster with a photo. Now this one is going to have the most layers. I'm going to work on photo number 2 here. This one will have layers, but fewer than the one I already worked on. And this photo is a little bit smaller. So at this point I have the 2 photo mats, white and wood grain, and I'm adding 2 pieces of ephemera. So I have that blue one there. I think it's actually a cut apart sheet. Anyway, I'm cutting it in half, and I'm going to have it kind of pass through the photo from behind. And I do the same thing with another cut apart sheet. That's that little tag there. That's the one I end up using. Once again, I cut it in half and I'm going to have it kind of pass through the back of the photo. So that passes through basically in between the white mat and the wood grain mat. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to adhere it all together. And once I'm finished with this, I will work on photo number 3. But photo number 3 is even going to have less than photo number 2. So what I'm going for here is one really full of layers, the second one fewer layers, and you're going to see in a moment the third one basically no layers at all. All I end up doing is matting the photo twice. So the white one's already there, and then I'm adhering it to the wood grain. I do add more to all of these clusters, these photo clusters at the end, but this is what I'm starting with. I also have that fourth block there that I haven't touched yet, the wood grain paper. I'll be showing that to you in a moment. And that one there will be my pocket, and I will work quite a bit with that one later on. So now what I'm going to do is play around with placement with these 4 blocks. They are all different colors. I'm going to place the photos on top of it. I do know I want my title, my journaling box, and what will eventually be my main embellishment cluster in the top left, but I don't know what color that block's going to be. So I'm just playing around, no rules here. All I'm looking for is something that pleases my eye. And eventually what I end up going with is the yellow block in the top left. That's going to be where my pocket's going to be. I liked how that yellow stood out behind that wood grain paper. So once I'm happy with the placement, now I'm going to adhere these 4 blocks to the foundation page. To do this, all I'm doing is placing them so that they measure 1 inch from the edge of the white foundation page. So I'm doing that all around, and that makes it even all around. I don't make you watch all of this. You'll see in a moment. It will all be adhered, but it's not difficult. I just selected a distance and respected it all around. Once that's done, what I will do is adhere my 3 photos on top of their chosen blocks. Now you can see, especially in the bottom right, the entire pink block is not quite, but almost entirely covered up with the layers in that photo cluster. And that's okay. That's part of the game when you create a layout with lots of layers. You wouldn't get a layered look if you were not willing to cover up things. That's the only one though. Everyone else, every other block, you can see it quite well, but you still can see some of the pink underneath that block in the bottom right. Now what I'm doing is working on that pocket. So I took that 4-inch block of wood grain paper and actually trimmed it down a bit. So now it measures 4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And I took a 1 3/8 inch circle punch and just punched out a notch at the top there. The size really doesn't matter. The idea there was I just wanted to punch out a half circle to add a notch just to indicate that it's a pocket. And I'm using the VersaFine Clair Morning Mist. It's like a dark gray ink, and I added a bit of ink around all of the pockets. Now what you see me doing is getting out this scoring tape, and I'm going to add it to 3 sides of my pocket. This is a tape that I use whenever I create anything interactive on a page, including a pocket. It's super heavy duty. So I'm adding it to 3 sides. I will adhere that on top of that yellow block. And now what I'm going to do is work on my title, the main embellishment clusters, as well as filling that pocket with tags. Now, when I create this block, this first one here in the top left, actually what I do here is going to determine my choices for the finishing touches on this page. I'm showing you the title. Now my title is going to be Weekly Food. The alphas I use, the big ones, are from an older Vicki Boutin collection. That one no longer exists, but there's something extremely similar from the Vicki Boutin Fernwood collection. Really cool letters. They're chipboard. You can pop them up. You can color them. You can use them like I do here, just as they are. And the tiny letters there for weekly, those are from the Obed Marshall Fantastico collection. They're puffy letters, and I particularly like them because they are really, really tiny. So in this case, it doesn't take up much room. I don't have much room for a title here. I am going into the sticker sheet and I'm selecting some stickers for my embellishment cluster and placing them on wax paper. So I started with the biggest one, which is that floral cluster there, which incorporates all of the colors. So I'm happy with that. And then I found a grocery bag, the word fresh, a cute little pig. I think I find a bunch of carrots there. And then I go into the chipboard and I find another bunch of carrots. That's what you see me getting out right now. It's all on wax paper. So I'm just going to play around to create an embellishment cluster and basically look for room for my title. So what I want when I place my embellishment cluster there is I don't want it to overlap the top of my pocket because I don't want it to close the pocket in any way because I am going to be tucking things inside of that pocket. I decide to put the cluster over there on the right hand side of the pocket and I'm adhering it now. The word fresh is overlapping a chipboard piece, that carrot cluster there. So I'm popping the word fresh up with foam adhesive, or half of it up anyway. The other half overlaps the carrots. And I'm not sure what to do with the title at this point, whether I want it vertical or horizontal. So I'm going to move forward. And at this point, you saw me get out a tag that I cut out with one of my dies from my stash, and I'm adding a photo to it. And the photo is of some groceries that I forgot to buy or I needed to go back to the grocery store to buy. So I snapped a photo of that. And I'm also showing you a little piece of ephemera there. And that piece of ephemera says, "You are super," and I added the word expensive from the alphas that are part of the sticker sheet there. This is a story about how much I spent on food, our groceries, for 1 week in January 2022, which is the kind of thing I like to document in my albums. I don't know, maybe not every year, but at least every 2 years, just to give an idea of the cost of living, basically. And that's why my journaling is going to be hidden in this case. You can see there I'm having to reinforce the alphabet on there, where I put the word expensive. That is from the sticker sheet. Now I'm having absolutely no problem at all with the other stickers, but the alphas do seem to be popping off on me. I don't know why. All I did was add a bit of liquid adhesive behind that. Now that I know what the tags are going to look like coming out of the pocket, obviously I have some finishing touches, but I have a good idea of what it's going to look like. Now I'm going to make a decision on the title, and I do decide to place it on the horizontal like that. But before adhering it, I do want to add some finishing touches. So I'm having a look at that cluster on that pocket. And what I'm seeing there in that entire block actually is that bright yellow is standing out at me. So I'm looking for something yellow to add. You saw I have 2 stickers there. They are flower stickers. So that repeats the color yellow, which is really what I'm looking for, but it also repeats the flowers that are in the top left as well. So at this point, I'm thinking of tucking them in the complete opposite corner, and they do stay there for a little while, but you're going to see towards the end I switch that up a bit as well. I want to add a visual triangle here. There's a lot going on, and I'm not going to worry too much about visual triangles, but I would like at least one strong one. And what's really standing out for me now is that color yellow. So I have this cut apart sheet that almost looks like a little tab, but I don't know where to put it. I'm thinking down there towards that photo with the box in the bottom left. So I'm playing around with placement. I decide at this point to go get a stamp set. This is a stamp set from Elizabeth Craft Designs called Destination Phrases. I really love this stamp set. Anyway, with the VersaFine Clair black ink, I stamp out the word good things, and I'm really happy with that. I think I'm going to pop it up on foam adhesive, so I'm actually adding a little bit of cardstock behind that tab right now, but I still don't know where I want to place it at this point. To me, when I place it up, it's like I'm not creating a visual triangle with it, but you're going to see later on, I end up switching up the placement of those flowers over there on the right, and it really helps with my visual triangle. So at this point, I decide to forget about placement. I adhere the title down. You can see it there, and I did pop them up on foam adhesive. And it's at this point I decide to change the placement of those yellow flowers over on the right, and then I put that tab on the bottom left, and I'm much happier. I have a visual triangle in yellow, and I'm satisfied with that. Now what you see me doing is adding reinforcers to those tags that are going in the pocket. That piece of ephemera that says "you are super expensive," I punched a hole in it as well to turn it into a tag. And behind each one of those tags, I am going to be doing some journaling. Now what I want to do is finish off the other little pieces, and you can see I'm got some enamel dots out there. Those are from Pink Fresh Studio. I want to add something in that tag above the photo on the top right, but I don't want to add another string. I feel I've got strings in one area, and if I do it in two, I'll feel the need to do it in a third, and I don't want to. So I add an enamel dot, that silver one, in that tab on the top right, and then I add two of them on each side of that little banner that says "good things" in the bottom left. Now I'm just tucking in a few extra pieces of ephemera and stickers in that cluster in the bottom right. I end up adding a little bunch of carrots, which is a sticker, and I have this little strawberry ephemera piece, which I find it's not the same color, but it kind of is a repetition of that word "fresh" that's in the top left cluster. And basically, I am pretty much done here. Anyway, I'm quite happy with this grid. Like I said, it's busier and a little bit more messy than my typical grids, but I really do have fun using this technique. And basically what I did was I treated each photo like its own little block, and I added layers, but for each one of them I did them with different amounts of layers. So the focal point had a lot of layers, the next photo fewer layers, and the third one basically no layers at all. When I created the title block, I created the main embellishment cluster there, and once that was placed down, I used that main embellishment cluster to basically make decisions on how to finish off my layout, essentially creating a strong visual triangle around the page. And I did that by adding those yellow flowers over on the bottom right, as well as that yellow tab on the bottom left. So basically, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the Scrapbook Nerd YouTube channel, we would be absolutely thrilled if you did. The same thing for my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec. Don't forget to check out the shop for these supplies, and there are tons of supplies there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.